For me, nature is a place where I can escape to. You just exist there and then. It's mindfulness. I can completely lose myself in the smallest detail. And I come out of the ocean like as a new person. I grew up in Bulande, which is a small archipelago off the western coast of Norway. It's quite isolated in many ways because you have to take the ferry from the mainland and then drive from island to island to get to the island where I grew up. It's a small but thriving community where everyone knows everyone, and it's very safe. Most of the people here work with something that has to do with the fisheries. There's quite a few big fishing boats in the village, and they go all the way up to the north of Norway, and they fish for herring, cod, mackerel and saithe. So growing up here is, I guess, a bit different from most other childhoods. Growing up here, the ocean is a big part of our life. But I think I was the one that was definitely the most interested in nature. I don't know why, but that's just how it was. I was always very interested in insects and the stuff that drifted up on the beach. And I had my huge collection of spiders. So I was always a bit different. So the challenge of growing up in a small place like this is that you don't always have someone else that shares your interest. I didn't have anyone else that was really keen on nature the way that I was, so I was doing a lot of stuff just on my own. So moving away from the islands and studying my passion, marine biology, was really good, because then I met everyone else that were also interested in nature, so I wasn't the outsider anymore. Being somewhere else, learning about nature and coming back here and seeing everything that we have here, it just made me appreciate it so much more, because I didn't realize when I was a kid how special this place is. I think that most places on land have been explored by humans by now. But in the ocean, there's so much left to explore. And no one has seen these sites before. So I'm the first one to explore them, and it's so exciting. A lot of people think that there's not much to see in the colder waters here in Norway and Sweden. But you have schools of fish, you have anemone walls, you have nudibranch, bright colors, fascinating animals. There's so much to see, even just when you go snorkeling. But I'm scared that all this is going to be lost. So one of the major environmental problems that we're facing now is there's so much litter, especially plastic, ending up in the oceans every year. And it's a huge problem. A couple of years ago, I went for a walk here on the island, and I found a dead gannet. It had a rope around its beak, so it had starved to death. I picked it up and brought it home, and I assembled the skeleton so that I could exhibit it and show people what the plastic in the ocean does to the animals that live there. So a lot of plastic ends up in the ocean. It breaks into tiny pieces, and then the animals eat it because they mistake it for food. So it's going to have a lot of consequences for us as well, because the tiny pieces of plastic that are covered in pollutants, they return to us through our seafood, and it's going to affect our health in the future. So I get frustrated, I think, when people don't care about nature. Because if someone throws plastic in the ocean, it's going to have a consequence for all of us, even for our children and grandchildren. I think a lot of people have lost their close connection to nature. Even people working with nature and in nature and depending directly on nature doesn't always appreciate it for what it's worth. I mean, we are so dependent on it, and we all sometimes take it completely for granted. But as long as people are not able to see what's there, they're not gonna care so much about it. And so that's what I try to do, get people beneath the surface. The projects that I work on are focused on what we call nær natur in Norwegian. So nær natur describes the nature that surrounds us every day, because I think then people are more likely to connect to that nature. And if they connect to it and appreciate it, that they are more likely to want to protect it. I made a couple of films about marine litter to tell people about how serious this problem is and also try and inspire them to find solutions for the problem. And last year we made an outdoor photo exhibition to show people here what they're out to see in the shallows. And so we took photos from the local environment, just under people's floating docks, just outside their houses. When they get the information about what's there, people get interested and they want to try it out. So following the exhibition, 3 women from the island asked if I could take them snorkeling, because they wanted to see for themselves what's there. They're not your typical diver. They've never tried diving or snorkeling before. They've never even tried a dive mask on. So it will be interesting to see what they think of it. I was a bit worried about the snorkeling with the ladies today because it's still only 10 degrees in the water, even though it's June, and it's been really windy. So the challenge was to find a site where I could show them nice enough things for them to get excited about it. But we just came back out of the water and it was a success. They were really happy and they didn't think it was cold actually. And they thought it was really beautiful. I think there's nature everywhere, even in a city. But it's really hard to compete with shopping and materialism and TV and all these things. But I think that once you get people outside and actually get them to see what's there, if I can manage to get them fascinated, you know, you can get past the idea that they have that nature is a bit boring. Because there's nothing more fascinating than nature, I think. There's so many fun things to do and it's so much beauty and so many stories to tell. I don't think there's any point in pointing fingers because people aren't going to change if you do that. So I try to inform people in a neutral way and inspire them because we don't have to give up anything, we just have to change our ways. So I think we should just all try and find a solution together and think about our children and grandchildren.